Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the one and only Euros Daily. It's 3 p.m. on Sunday, the 27th of June. It's day 16 of Euro 2020, and we are 2 for 8 in the last 16. Numbers, numbers, numbers. I'm Joe Carter, and I'll be your guide through this pan-European footballing party. Lots to get through today with 2 reviews and 2 previews, including Roz Stradamus's 4-0 win over Wales for the mighty Denmark, and Italy's extra time outclassing, should we call it, of Austria. We'll make our predictions for today's game as well. Games as well. Our man of the match and dick of the day awards from us, and Roz's iconic stat of the day, which he'll either put in the comments or Mus will take over, because as you might have noticed, Roz isn't here. All of that to come here on Euros Daily. Comment, like, subscribe, allow notifications, and please share this video. Give us a little click on the subscribe button. Come on, allow the notifications. So you can see us every day doing our little thing and giving you your lowdown on the Euros. Alongside me today, it's the recently recalled Mus. How you doing, mate? What's it like to be brought back into the fold?
Yeah, very well, thanks. Firstly, can I just say a big thank you to you and Roz for the entertainment that you provided me on my week off. Every morning I was tuning in, and it was great content. So I very much feel like Roz deserves his break, and happy to be back covering for the big man.
Brilliant. That's a very, very kind words. Thank you very much, Mus. I'm glad you enjoyed it in your absence. I mean, it's obviously going to be a lot better today with you here, but sadly no Roz. But this is the job. Maybe I have the job of kind of a predicament that international manager might face, like Mancini when Verratti suddenly comes back fit, or Southgate with Henderson and Maguire. When to bring them in, who do you leave out, how do you put them in? We'll get onto that anyway. But let's kick off, shall we, by reviewing yesterday's game. So yesterday, Denmark beat Wales 4-0, as Roz kind of predicted would happen, and Italy beat Austria 2-1, but it took them extra time to do it, and Austria had to score possibly the finest of margins goals that I've ever seen in my life. It's like, how do you get past Italy? And that's it. That's how you have to do it, and it's insanely hard.
Yeah.
But we'll get onto that. Let's go with Wales Denmark first. So I'll give you a little wrap, and you can tell me your views on it. So Kasper Dolberg with a fantastic opening goal. He got a second one from defensive error. Mæhle, who's looked outstanding, popped up on the other side of the pitch from left back to score a nice little finish there. And Braithwaite's potentially disallowed offside VAR goal was allowed, and he's got himself off the mark. 4-0 to Denmark. Wales, on the other hand, looked pitiful. They looked tired. They looked exhausted, and that's that's kind of how it played out. How did you make it? What did you make of it?
Yeah, I mean, I think. Well, firstly, Wales can be proud of the tournament that they've had. Putting aside whether Chris Gunter's comments were kind of crying over spilt milk or not, but the reality is they had to travel far and wide this campaign. Didn't have some of the backing that some of the oppositions that they've faced have had. So they've done well, but they were well beaten. Denmark deservedly won. Denmark's previous result against Russia, you could say that was them riding the emotion, still kind of coming to terms with what happened in that opening game with Christian Eriksen. But yesterday they were just technically head and shoulders above Wales. The players, Dolberg came in instead of in place of Poulsen, had a great game. Reminded people why Nice kind of splashed out on them, or splashed out on him as their first big signing when they got taken over by Ineos, the owner of
cycling.
Which is it Sky? Is it Team Sky? I can't remember which.
I think there's Team Sky and Team Ineos, but yeah, it's
right. Anyway, so that he was their first big signing, and he was great. Popped up with the first one was pure quality. The second one was awful from Nico Williams. That ridiculous clearance off of his right weaker foot. And yeah, there's some great standout players coming through. Damsgaard popped up with a couple of assists. He looks like a really good creative player, and Mæhle, who you mentioned, looks like a really good fullback.
Do you see the danger of any of these Danish players being snapped up by Premier League clubs and flopping? I can
There
see it
is
happening
that.
with some of them. Not
Yeah,
Danish players, but in general at this tournament, there's
yeah,
always a couple of signings off the back of a performance at a tournament that end
yeah,
up not being misrepresentative in the Premier League. Like for
yeah,
example, I could see Patrick Schick ending up at Palace and just being a
yeah,
complete flop. Do you know what I mean? Like I don't
yeah.
know.
Schick's got West Ham signing all over him.
Yeah,
You know,
West Ham paid 35 million for Schick. I mean, no, he'd
exactly.
do well at West Ham. That's the problem, isn't it? Because he's got his compatriots there, Soufal and
That's
Soucek.
true. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, and as you say, there's a few players who are maybe peaking at this tournament. I think a few of them happen to be fullbacks. So the Mail is one, Denzel Dumfries, who we'll see today, is another one.
Denzel
And up
Dumfries,
until now,
by the way, who is named after Denzel
Denzel
Washington,
Washington.
and originally was playing amateur football in Aruba before
Yeah,
making a kind of a late play, if you like, for Dutch nationality. And I mean, he looks outstanding. Apparently, Bayern Munich are on the kind of on his coattails.
exactly. Yeah. But so someone like that, it could go one of two ways. Like this is just maybe, you know, he's risen to the challenge on the big stage, and now he's going to just go on and on and on. Or it could just be the fact that there's no precedent for this type of form. It might turn out like flash in the pan, and then he might not be able to maintain that level. But actually, what I would say in terms of potential signings and Premier League clubs raiding some of the talents, a lot of the standout players, Dumfries aside, kind of play for like mid-table, upper mid-table Italian clubs.
Yeah,
So Sassuolo has been mentioned a few times on the show. They've got Locatelli, they've got Berardi. Mela plays for Atalanta.
yeah,
Um, and yeah, you can imagine a club in the Premier League, not big six, but still kind of with the transfer budgets that being in the Premier League brings, kind of maybe trying to pick one or two of those.
yeah. Very interesting. Maybe we could do some sort of special show around this in one of our down days towards the end of the tournament. I think it'd make for a really interesting show, and see who we predict might move on and who might do well and who might not. Who's going to be a Stefan Givash, who's going to be a Philippe Albert. Like that's what we want to see, isn't it? Really.
It's going to be a Pablo or a Damian.
A Poborski or a Kleberson. Like there's so many. There's so many. It's brilliant. Patrick Berger, he was great for Liverpool, wasn't he? After the Czechs seem to have like a good kind of a good reputation, if you like, when it comes to signing post tournament. Anyway, excuse me, I'm slightly tired. Let's move on, shall we? I digress. Denmark through then to the quarterfinals of the European Championship, and they will face Netherlands or Czech Republic in Baku.
Yeah. Can I try and make a fist of replacing Roz's stat of the day?
Oh, mate.
He may still pop up in the comments. We don't know. But so Denmark became the first team in European Championship history to reach the knockout stage of the competition, having lost the first two group stage games. So yeah, I mean that's interesting to note. Like obviously they've got heritage in the tournament of the '92 win.
Yeah.
And now they've got momentum this time around, and
it's funny, isn't it?
passion.
It's partly down to the format. It's pretty much almost wholly down to the new format, which obviously Chris Gunter's not a fan of. Yeah, I know it's weird, isn't it? Portugal, winners last time out, drew all three games in the group, didn't they? They didn't win a game in the group, and it kind of seems unfair. I get that, but it does make for these twists and turns, which do make it interesting. It makes that last group stage game a lot more meaningful, and that has been a lot more exciting this time around, I'd say.
Yeah, the sequencing of the games you get make a big difference as well. Like we saw what difference it made to Scotland. You could argue that with Turkey kind of facing Italy first off in Rome meant that they were on the back foot, meant that they had to get something out of the Wales game straight after, meant that they had to play more attacking, left themselves, so you can either profit from that, or if you get the wrong game first,
Yeah.
then
Do you feel like, I mean, it tends to lean towards the bigger countries in a way because, Italy in that group, yeah, like you say, all their games at home. So, team like Wales, did they travel something like 4,500 miles throughout their 4 games at this tournament, back and forth from Baku to Seville to Rome to Baku to, all over the place, versus someone like England who have been at St George's Park for the whole 2 weeks, or someone like Italy who've been based at the Olimpico for 2 weeks. It's kind of not fair.
yeah, it is a little bit not fair. And I think the pandemic makes it worse because fans literally can't travel to try and bring that home atmosphere. So yeah, with Italy, this was really their first, well, literally their first game outside of Italy. But at least they had, there's a huge Italian community in London, so they still had some of that home support. Whereas I think, for example, the Netherlands today playing in the Puskás Arena, this will probably be their first time playing in a genuinely neutral environment, and that might play into the Czech Republic's hands.
Yeah, especially as it will be a full stadium as well. We'll come on to that. Since you mentioned Italy, let's find out why you're wearing an Italy shirt.
So I always try and wear something that's relevant to what we're talking about. And I still haven't purchased a Wales or a Denmark kit, so I have to go with this one.
Do you know what? I'd like to get my hands on that retro Danish kit, like Euro '92 Danish kit. That is, I mean, it's a bit of a Marmite shirt, but I'd definitely wear it. I think I could pull it off.
Yeah. Is that the Hummels one?
Yeah, it's all Hummel. Yeah.
Iconic.
Yeah. Always Hummel. I think that's been their national kit maker for, well, since the beginning of time, potentially.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on to Italy then, who, as you say, at Wembley, eventually sealed a 2-1 win over Austria. Chiesa and Pessina, the 2 subs, coming on to make the difference. CZECH with a consolation, as we mentioned, by the finest of margins, to showing what you have to do to score against this Italy side, who had a total of something like 27 attempts on goal throughout the game. It's just not an Italy side that traditionally, it doesn't feel like Italy when you watch them. They're more exciting because traditionally we know Italy is a very defensive unit, hard to break down, get you on the break maybe. But this Italy team, all over the park, they've got talent, they've got attacking talent, they've got youth, the hunger. It's not as kind of straightforward as it usually is. Do you think that was a key factor in how Italy won? Also, I want you to kind of talk to me about the fact that Italy were able to rest almost every player for their third group game, whereas Austria played a full strength team in that game and this game.
Yeah, I mean, just to start on that final point, I think that's where strength and depth and quality really makes a difference. Because if you're Italy and you've won your first 2 games 3-0, you can afford that luxury of resting some players in the final game. Whereas if you're Austria and you're grinding out results, you've got to contend with like an Arnautovic suspension. That's far from ideal preparation.
Yeah,
and eventually that kind of that wear and tear, you could see it as the game progressed. Italy were just grinding them down, and eventually were able to get that breakthrough. And a bit like my holiday, having a Pessina to jump in makes such a big difference.
Merce, I've missed your puns, mate.
I'm not sure that grimace. I'm not sure that grimace shows quite how much you missed it, but yeah. I mean, a stat that links this game with the previous one that we were talking about. So, only one player has created more chances than Verratti in this tournament. Can you guess who it is?
Hang on, only one player has created more than Verratti?
Yeah.
For Italy in this tournament?
No, only one player has created more chances in open play than Verratti across the board in this tournament.
I haven't got a clue, mate.
I would have been surprised if you guessed it. It's Dan James.
Wow, there you go.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a stat the other day about Dan James has taken the most corners in the tournament. So I wonder if that's kind of linked, that he's their only corner taker. They've got a lot of corners. Who knows? But
maybe.
Interesting.
Yeah, but I think that says something about both Wales, the fact that they had a decent tournament. Dan James created 10 chances, but Verratti, I think, with 135 minutes fewer than Dan James, has created 9 chances. And that speaks to the point you were making about this being a kind of like a non-traditional Italian side that is both strong defensively but gets numbers forwards and attack with numbers, have deep lying creative players, get in behind as well. We saw like a couple of like near misses where just a beautiful ball from Insigne or Locatelli, you know, just Immobile, just not quite getting in on the end of them, but they've got that move in their locker.
So much pace as well. So much pace. I think we discussed it before, you know, fastest player at the tournament, Spinazzola. And I mean, let's quickly talk about the Italy goals. So first one, Chiesa, absolute moment of class, rolling back to his dad's like kind of style of play. Federico Chiesa takes it on his right, takes it on his left, then does the defender takes it on his head, does the defender on his left, scores on his right. I can't even remember, but left foot, right foot, middle foot, you know, it all all came into play for Chiesa for that sexy goal.
Yeah. And a fair play to you. You've been talking up Chiesa throughout the tournament, and he definitely made the difference yesterday. So some people likened it to the Bergkamp goal against Argentina in the '98 World Cup. I think it's very much like, you know, the Lidl own brand version of that, because he does take the ball down with his face, but yeah, checks in on his left foot and buries it. Great goal.
Absolutely fantastic. And then Italy's second goal from Pessina, some great hold-up play there from Insigne, wasn't it? And or Immobile, I can't remember now, you have to forgive me. That was the 100th goal of the tournament.
Wow, so it's been a high-scoring tournament. I remember one of my opening stats when I first started appearing on this glorious show is that the 2016 tournament was the lowest ever per game. I think that the whole tournament had 108 goals, I think, in 51 games. So, yeah, we're doing much better this time around.
Yeah, we're on 101 this time around with 38 games played. 2.66 goals per match. So, you know, if you're a gambling person, you'll know that there's a bet that's over 2.5 goals. The averages say that that's the winning bet for you. Okay. Austria got that consolation. And it was a corner, and the guy just sort of launched himself at it like a salmon over the waterfall. You know, it's just kind of, he was being pulled back, like completely like defended out of the game by Italy. Managed to get the header. I don't know if you saw the angle from in the goal, the camera angle in the goal. You don't see the ball until it's basically crossing the line. So the keeper had absolutely no chance. And it was just the narrowest margin. And I still, frankly, don't know how it went in. It seemed to defy physics, the sort of angles that were at play. But it did make for an exciting final 5 minutes. And Austria can go home with their heads held high. Yeah,
definitely. And you know, we haven't mentioned the disallowed goal from Arnautovic, which for a brief moment looked like it was going to be the winner coming in like the 80-something minute. And to pull one back, given how long Italy have gone without conceding.
Over 900 minutes, wasn't it, until they eventually conceded, which is, 10 games.
Yeah.
And
it was like
Italy also have extended their unbeaten run to 31 games now, which is the longest in their history.
Yeah. And I do wonder whether conceding that, ultimately consolation goal kind of takes some of the pressure off Italy, because after a while these records become a bit of a an albatross around their neck, kind of just added pressure.
I've not heard that one before. I've heard kind of monkey on the back. I've heard that one, but I don't know where either saying comes from. If I'm honest with you, it all seems just a bit absurd and obtuse. But yeah.
The albatross one is definitely GCSE English. I think Samuel Taylor Coleridge.
Oh, really?
Rhyme of Dick Mariner. Yeah.
Well, there you go. I think it's quite obvious what I was doing during GCSE English. Actually, I didn't do English literature at GCSE. There was an option to not do it at my school, and I chose not to. I did German instead. So, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I can ask you if you want to play a game of table tennis in German, but I can't quote famous English literature.
Go on then.
Hallo Mus, würdest du ein Spiel Tischtennis mit mir heute Abend?
That is incredible. I mean, next time you put on your specs and try and do your Jurgen Klopp impression, you should definitely pull that one out the bag.
I think we've all had enough of my Jurgen Klopp impression. But anyway, okay, let's move on then. Before we preview today's games, Italy will play one of those teams that are playing today in the quarterfinals. It'll be Belgium or Portugal who they will meet in the QFs at the Fußball Arena in München. And before we get on to previewing today's games, though, Mus, I need your man of the match day and your dick of the day for yesterday's games.
I think I'll go for Dolberg, man of the match. I think his interventions were decisive against Wales. My DOD, it was a close one between Arnautovic, just because of his antagonistic celebration after his disallowed goal. He always appears so angry after he scored. But I think ultimately I'll go with Chris Gunter, influenced by Roz's view of his recent statements. Probably not the classiest thing to say after you've just gone out. Maybe something you could reflect on, once the tournament's done.
Bit of a bad loser.
That's what it comes across as. Wales were many people's second team. They garnered a lot of neutral support.
I tipped them as my surprise package, mate, at the beginning of the tournament. You said Turkey, Roz said Scotland, so I get a point for that one. Actually, when it comes to actually go through those, it's gonna be hilarious.
Yeah, it will be fun. I mean, are we doing relative scoring, as in you were right relative to us, but ultimately, if the Czech Republic go through to the quarterfinal, surely that's more of a surprise than Wales getting to the second round.
No. Well, for that one, we'll do relative scoring, so I can get a point on the board, because I don't know if you've seen the rest of mine, but they're all completely ridiculous. Cool. Okay, let's get on then to previewing today's games. Now, the amuse-bouche is Netherlands, Czech Republic. This just to whet your appetite, because this is going to be a great game. Have no doubts. Before we get on to the headline act, which is tournament football, last 16, two absolute giants going head-to-head, Belgium, Portugal. But Netherlands, Czech Republic from the Puskás Arena, a packed-out Puskás with beers flying everywhere. This is the kind of atmosphere that's going to await these teams. Czech flags are already being displayed in the stands just a couple of hours before kickoff. And Czech players have admitted going into the game they don't remember exactly the last time they played in front of a capacity crowd. What effect is that going to have on this Czech Republic team?
To be honest, I think it probably might go in their favour, just because on paper, I think you'd say the Netherlands were the favourites, but I think if given the proximity of the Czech Republic, you may in all likelihood there'll be quite a sizable contingent, Czech contingent. What's the word? A sizable Czech crowd in the audience, right? And I think that can maybe put the wind in their sail a bit. So far, Netherlands have been one of the best performing teams in the tournament. You'd have to say that they're the highest scoring team in the tournament, and alongside Italy have been one of the best performing. But I think the Czech Republic might be able to frustrate them if they get the crowd on sides. The jitters might go through the Netherlands team.
Yeah, another prediction I made pre-tournament was best fans. Ross said Scotland. You said Sweden. I said Netherlands. So good chance for me here to, get Netherlands fans in a full stadium. Hopefully there are some of them in there and they can make a play and get me that point. So I'm going to be rooting for the Netherlands fans, definitely, at 5:00.
Yeah, they definitely bring the colour, as you said.
Orange, that's what they're called, I think, colloquially.
That's right.
Mm.
Yeah, but I think on the pitch, they should definitely have the better of it. They are fragile defensively, and Roz earlier this week mentioned Van Dijk's absence has kind of gone. We've been able to skate over that just because they've been so good in the attack, but there'll be an aerial threat from the Czech Republic, and with CZECH and Kufal, particularly Kufal, he'll have a big game to play. Given how Denmark like to get those given how the Netherlands like to get those flying wing backs high. So I think it will be a closer game than many are expecting.
Interesting, isn't it? It's a real it is a real like appetite wetter for later. I feel it's yeah, like you say, it's not as cut and drawn as you might expect. The head-to-head record actually: 5 wins for the Czech Republic, 3 for the Netherlands, 3 draws, 16 goals for the Czechs, and 14 for the Dutch. I'm expecting quite an open game here. I'm expecting Netherlands to really throw it at the Czech Republic, and one key man in that is Gini Wijnaldum. Roz, one of Roz's favourite words, not even footballing terms, words in life, pivot. You know, Wijnaldum is doing that for the Dutch. Roz Geller. Pivot. Okay, yeah. So Gini Wijnaldum, 25 goals for his country as a midfielder. Obviously, he's playing a bit further up now, and he kind of does that for Holland, for the Netherlands. Almost like Liverpool missed a trick there, and PSG are just rubbing their hands together now. The amount of extra goals they'll get out of him. Is he the key man, or does he take a bit of the weight off the shoulders of the likes of Depay?
Yeah, I think so. Because firstly, he's just such an energetic presence in that midfield. So he's there with the interceptions, the tackles. He's breaking down play, but he's doing more than that. He's popping up with a goal, supporting the attack, and yeah, it takes the pressure off Depay. But also, the Netherlands have had a few kind of unsung attacking players. Been really impressed with that. Daniel Marlin, even like is it Vaghorn? Is that his name?
Wout Weghorst.
Weghorst. They have a few kind of rotating frontmen that can come in and take the pressure off Depay. So yeah, I think they're quite an exciting team. But yeah, I think it will be maybe a 2-1 to the Netherlands, maybe in extra time. I'm not sure.
Okay, 2-1 to the Netherlands in extra time. Who's your man of the match? Who's going to make that difference?
I'm going to go with the fairy tale story from Aruba, Denzel.
Nice.
Denzel Dumfries.
I hope so, because I've got him in my fantasy team. I've also got Wijnaldum. I thought I'd sold Wijnaldum to you enough for you to go with him, but it's fine. I like the fairy tale story of Denzel Dumfries. Yeah. The steam train come flying down that wing. I mean, these wing backs, man, they're in the shop window. Him and Mailer, and there are countless others, Spinazzola, all playing extremely well. And I expect to see some of these players in the Premier League. I fully expect to see them in the Prem. Okay, should we move on then to the big one? Belgium against Portugal. Lukaku versus Ronaldo. Head-to-head looks like this. Belgium have won 5, Portugal won 6. They've drawn 7. Belgium have scored more, though, 22. And Portugal have scored 1. Going into this game, the big kind of one for Portugal, what we're looking out for is, will Bruno Fernandes start or not? Because obviously he missed the final group game. Perceived to be a kind of weak link defensively, maybe. Brought Renato Sanchez in, shored things up, got them through to the knockout stages. Which way does it go? What does Portugal's front line look like?
Yeah, to declare a conflict of interest here, I did tip Portugal to be the winners. So, for the sake of preserving my prediction record, I do want them to win here.
And did you do you remember who you said player of the tournament would be? Bruno Fernandes. Do you remember who you said top scorer would be?
Lukaku.
Yes. And the one to watch?
Doku.
Yeah, so you've got a lot riding on this game for the end of tournament points.
I do. I'm hoping it'll be like a 4-3 to Portugal with Lukaku hat-trick that secures the goal. Doku with the 3 assists.
Yeah, I love it. And Ronaldo scoring none of the 3 Portugal goals. I can definitely see that happening, yeah. You'll be fine, mate.
Fernandes scoring another goal.
Fernandes, yeah, exactly. There you go.
Yeah, something's got to give. But I'd say, well, firstly, so many of Portugal's big players I thought would have a good tournament off the back of a decent season have failed to show up. But Bernardo Silva's been awful. Semedo's been atrocious. Fernandes looks tired. And also Cancelo, I hadn't quite clocked that his positive COVID test a few days before the start of the tournament ruled him out for the whole tournament. I just thought they would wait until he's negative and then bring him back in. But he was permanently removed from the squad.
Wow.
And they brought in Diogo Dalot from Manchester United. And that, again, was a big blow, right? So only really Ronaldo has showed up, Jota and patches, but they've not been great. I think Renato Sanchez will start in the middle. That's what you would do, right? Three in midfield, try and crowd out the Belgians, especially if De Bruyne is playing. Martinez for Belgium might bring in maybe Tillemans to try and address that, but you'd probably have more chance of being defensively solid against the number one team in the world if you play with Sanchez in a three-man midfield.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Belgium scored 7 goals, so have Portugal. Belgium has spread their goals out a bit more. You know, Lukaku's got 3, Meunier, Hazard and De Bruyne with 1 each, 1 own goal. Portugal, it's 5 goals for Ronaldo, 1 from Guerreiro, 1 from Diogo Jota. So, you know, they're both high-scoring teams. Let's not forget that. So, are you expecting a high-scoring game? Also, who's the key person for Belgium?
Yeah, so there is a suspicion that Belgium are pacing themselves in the tournament in the same way that, say, France are. So they've not gone full pelt because they've not had to so far. But the two teams are fairly similar, and as you say, they're high-scoring, but they've got creaky, aging defenders with Pepe and Vertonghen on the other side. By the way, Ruben Diaz is another player that's having an iffy tournament off the back of, player of the season.
He's having a mare, mate. Yeah.
Yeah, a Western super. So, I'd say it would be a high-scoring game. Ultimately, probably Lukaku will be the difference maker. Although I hope not, for the sake of my predictions. But yeah, I'd say Lukaku man of the match.
Lukaku man of the match. And what scoreline would you give it then?
Maybe 3-2 to Portugal.
3-2 to Portugal. And who man of the match?
Lukaku.
Yeah, I thought he can't have said that, but that's fair enough.
Counterintuitive, isn't it?
Doesn't have to be from the winning team, the man of the match. You know, you can still have a man of the match performance be on the losing team. It's very unlikely, but it is. Your other prediction is Denzel Dumfries to be man of the match. You've gone for a wing back, so it's quite out there.
Let me play the odds here and say Ronaldo. I'll say Ronaldo and Portugal.
Oh, you're changing your mind. Don't tell Roz.
If I'm allowed, I'm not sure if that's within the rules or not.
Don't worry, there's not any points riding on it like our EPLW, English Premier League weekly podcast that we do during the Premier League season. Subscribe to the channel if you want to know more about that, by the way, viewers. All 2 of you. That's probably us.
I mean, what's your prediction for this game, Joe?
My prediction for Portugal-Belgium. Honestly, people have been asking me this all day at work and stuff, and I've been like, on paper, Belgium, but actually, when it comes to tournament history and the players in the squad, I think Portugal win this. And I think it's a close fought contest. I think maybe Portugal in extra time, a 2-1,
right.
maybe a 3-2. But I think Belgium have a history of bottling with this golden generation of theirs. Wales knocked them out last time, and no disrespect to Wales, but no one was expecting that. I mean, Hal Robson-Kanu obviously spun 3 of their defenders with a Cruyff turn. If Hal Robson-Kanu can do that, I mean, they're trying to get tickets to get back in, those 3 still. But Ronaldo, if Hal Robson-Kanu can do that, and he got talking of like signings post tournament, he got his big call up to West Brom, didn't he? After that tournament,
turned out well.
Turned out to be a Premier League player after all. Yeah. But yeah, I fancy Ronaldo. I fancy the big players on the day, really. Pepe, we saw the kind of performance Pepe put in for Porto against Juventus in the Champions League. Like these, they have big game players, Portugal. And I think as much as Belgium have all this class all over the pitch, I think a team is only as good as the sum of its parts, and it's not an individual game. So, yeah, in a word, Portugal.
Okay, let's hope so.
And Ronaldo man of the match. But thanks for asking. I don't always get asked my opinion. It's not my job, essentially. But, here we go. Here we are. Right. I'm a bit tired. I don't know if you noticed. Kick-off is just under an hour and a half away in the Czech Republic-Netherlands game. I'm going to go and prepare by making myself some traditional Dutch food. I don't know what that is yet. I'm going to find out though and do that. How are you? How are you? Sorry,
Chips.
chips.
They,
Yeah,
they love their frites. Yeah.
yeah, frites. Maybe some just some any kind of munchies. We'll see what I can get hold of. Mus. Oh, not sure about that one. Yeah, not
As
sure.
long as you're only having the munchies part, not the pre-munchie activity.
How will you be watching this game? How you been enjoying it? You at home, or are you going to go to the fan park near your house, or what?
Oh yeah, funny you say that. I got turned down in the ballot for the England-Germany fan park, which is a shame. No, I'll just watch it at home. Probably a couple of pastel de natas, stuff in my face with Portuguese treats.
Nice.
But I'll have an eye on the touchline actually, because it's going to be like Premier League and the noughties. You've got Van Nistelrooy in the kick, in Amuse Bouche, as you say, and then you've got Thierry Henry on the touchline later. So that'll be good.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. Okay, Mus, been a pleasure this afternoon. Thanks for your time. I will see you and or Roz tomorrow afternoon for another episode of Euros Daily. If you've enjoyed this, if you've got this far, well done. Congratulations. You may as well subscribe to the channel and allow notifications. Drop a like on the video. Get in the comments. Tell us if you agree or disagree with us. Also, tell us what you want to hear us talk about and for the remainder of the tournament. You got any ideas? We're going to have some shows where there aren't games on that day, and we're going to have some time to fill. So give us a shout and let us know what you want to hear about, what you want to see. Thanks very much, Mus. I'll see you tomorrow.
Cheers, mate. See you tomorrow.